Keith Williams. I live in Risley in Bedfordshire, and I attend All Saints Church in Risley, and I'm lay co-chair of the Sharnbrook Deanery. You know, why did I get involved in youth work? I guess that's an interesting question. I think because I had a fairly challenging teenage years, like I think most teenagers do, but I had a sort of bumpy time. It was in the 1960s, a lot of changes going on, and I just found it very difficult to find myself and getting into wrong company and all that sort of thing. So I really felt, as a teenager that it's interesting looking back now. You can see God's got at work in those years, actually reaching out and doing things in my life. In terms of the Sharnbrook Deanery, it's 30 churches, and of those 30 churches, only half of them have young people attending on a Sunday, and most of them don't have a youth club. And some of the villages are quite small, some of the churches are quite small, and it's really difficult to find the resources to actually make the connections with the young people. So what we decided to do was just try and look at how, as a deanery, we could work together. And he set up a meeting, and I think we had about 18 people attending the meeting from across the deanery, representing a lot of different churches. The thing that was really great about that meeting was that we had a young lad who actually turned up to our deanery synod, and he was only about 16. And somebody invited him to the meeting. But then when we discovered that we'd got a 16-year-old coming to the meeting, we said, well, there must be other young people we can invite. So we ended up with 5 or 6 young people coming along to be part of this meeting. When Dean Pusey turned up, he said, look, I don't want to hear from you adults. You can shut up, be quiet. Let's listen to the young people. And he asked them questions, and each of the young people had a story to tell about their journey in faith. And it was really encouraging for us as adults just to listen and hear what they were saying. So coming out of that, we said, well, so what do we do next? We said, well, let's do something to involve a wider number of young people. So we said, well, food is the obvious answer. Let's have a barbecue. So we decided to set up a barbecue, and we had about 30 young people turning up for a barbecue, and we had it in my garden, and it was great fun. The age range was, I think it was something like 11 to 25. So it's an extremely wide age range. And that was sort of quite challenging, because obviously there's a huge difference both in terms of size, but also attitudes, behaviours, and needs, I guess. What was really interesting was by the end of the session, they were all working together across that wide age range. And what we developed from that is this theme of fun, food and faith. What would I encourage people to do if they're starting to work with young people? So you have to be where they are. We had an experience in Risley here where I can't remember the last Jubilee service year we had, there was a lot arranged for the little children, there was a lot arranged for adults, but there was nothing arranged for teenagers. And we had 2 people in the congregation who were passionate about reaching young teenagers. And they said, well, why can't we set up something for the teenagers in the Jubilee celebration? So they set up a couple of tents. They got some fairly loud music, some food, barbecued burgers and sausages, and just put it out there that we wanted to welcome young people to come along and just chill out in our tents, our marquees. And over that day we had about 80 young people, 80 teenagers turn up, and they ate their burgers and they ate their sausages and they had fun. And they chilled out and they chatted. And after that, when we reinvigorated the youth clubs, we had two groups running with about 80 young people in those 2 groups. So it was a question of identifying with them, setting up something, looking at what they need, but also creating something where they could express themselves as individuals, where they could be themselves.